آمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحابه أجمعين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. سبحانك لا فهم لنا إلا ما فهمتنا إنك أنت الجواد الكريم. وقل ربي زدني علما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. سل بني إسرائيل كم آتيناهم من آية بينة ومن يبدل نعمة الله من بعد ما جاءته فإن الله شديد العقاب. صدق الله مولانا العظيم. So in these ayats, it's mentioned about the former peoples, particularly Bani Israel, and their consistent opposition to truth when it comes to them, and their continuous rebellion against Allah and His Rasul, and the consequences that would ensue. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Sal Bani Israel, ask Bani Israel, Kam ataynahum min ayatin bayyinah. How many clear signs did we send to you? And what was the result? The result was opposition, raising objections, asking unnecessary questions, as we heard in detail in Surah Baqarah. وَمَن يُبَدِّلْ نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ مِن بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَتْهُ. And who changes the ni'mat of Allah, in other words, who recompenses the ni'mat of Allah with ungratitude and disobedience. In other words, the ni'mat of Allah, it calls for gratitude, it calls for submission, it calls for appreciation, not what what they did. They met with the ni'mat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with opposition and with rebellion. And whoever does such, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعِقَابِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very, very terrible and very tough and very, very shadid al-iqab, very, very terrible punishment. So there was a number of things that we also heard in Surah Baqarah, just to sort of recap. So number one, we could take probably the most salient of all the disobediences was the fact that Musa alayhi salam had for so many years been working with Bani Israel and teaching them Tawheed, and teaching them obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His oneness in Tawheed, which is the basis of Deen. And then after opening the sea and delivering them from Pharaoh and all of this misery and trials and tribulations they've been going through for perhaps decades, if not perhaps centuries. So no sooner do they get to the other side than they start asking Musa alayhi salam for an idol like the people that they saw there who are worshipping idols. So as a result of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down His punishment upon them. And then ultimately, without food and water and any sustenance, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends down man and salwa. They don't have to do anything. Just be grateful. No. How are we going to be patient on just this, Now again, is this just to tell us about Bani Israel and how terrible they were, or is it to tell us that, hey, don't be like that? And as I mentioned many times, Nabi alayhi salam warned that you're probably going to follow footstep after footstep. And that's what we do. Right? Then man and salwa. So, okay, then they want to, we want lentils, we want vegetables, we want onions, we want this, we want that. Okay, get down and work for it. You were getting it free from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala right out of the sky, Okay? So they're having to be, then ultimately the Torah comes. Oh, this is very tough. The mountain of Tur is raised above them. This is for you to take. Now take it or else. Okay. And then they say, yeah, Musa, we don't know. Did really Allah talk to you? We want to hear, ourselves. Allah. Right? And then even when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually spoke and they heard that, Well, we don't know. Maybe this is some kind of trickery. They were struck dead and they were brought back to life. So again and again, this is the history. And as a result of that, what was the end result in this world? ضربت عليهم المسكنة. Maskana. Poverty. Humiliation. So somebody says, what do you mean poverty? They have all the wealth in the world, but they'll always look like they're poverty stricken. We don't have anything. We're the underdog, we're this or that. So poverty is not something, or poverty and wealth is not something you have in your hand, in your bank account. It's in the heart. Al-ghina ghina nafs. So that ghina, that wealth in the heart, was extracted. No matter what they have, they will always feel being the underdog and unprivileged. And the ni'mat of Iman is that with our Iman and with our belief, we are the most privileged human beings on the earth, whether we have anything in our pockets or not. You see? So, let us, take ibrat, and that's the whole point. The point is, this is a book of guidance to guide us. This is the way not to do, As they say, you have to know what you're not before you know what you are. Or that's part of knowing who you are and what you are, is knowing to know what you are not. So we are not to be ungrateful. We are to be grateful for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's ni'mah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us such. Ameen thumma ameen wa akhir da'wana. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.